Okay, so picture the back of your television cabinet, or maybe if you're in IT, a server rack.
Oh yeah, a familiar sight.
You've got this perfectly organized setup, and then you have to plug in like 5 different signal processors.
And suddenly you're playing Tetris.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're playing Tetris with those bulky black power bricks that block 2 or 3 outlets at a time.
The classic wall wart phenomenon. I mean, it is the universal enemy of clean infrastructure.
It really is. It's messy, it generates heat, and it just looks terrible. So today we're doing a deep dive into a device that claims to solve this, specifically for the Pro AV world.
Right, we're looking at the Kramer VA-102P12, and this is based on the specs we pulled from HDTV Supply.
And I know power supply might sound a little dry to some.
But it's actually a masterclass in systems engineering. The core mission here is pure consolidation.
Right, because the big headline is that this single box replaces 10 individual power adapters.
Which is huge for rack space.
But before we get into the how, I want to ask about the why. Is this really just about tidiness? Because paying a premium just to get rid of cables seems like a bit of a luxury.
Yeah, it's definitely not just aesthetic. It is really about thermal management and failure points.
Oh, so like heat buildup.
Exactly. In what we call high population installations, think broadcast control rooms or medical monitoring stations.
You're cramming a ton of gear in there.
Right. You might have a dozen small devices like scalers or maybe Kramer's Pico tools crammed into a super tight space.
And every single one of those cheap plastic wall warts is generating its own little heat pocket.
Yes. And they are often the cheapest component in the chan, so they fail constantly.
That makes sense.
When you switch to the VA-102P12, you are moving from 10 cheap variable AC to DC converters to one centralized industrial-grade transformer.
You're trading a point of failure for a point of stability.
Perfectly said.
Okay, let's look at the architecture here. We're talking about a 10-output unit, right?
Correct. It provides 12-volt DC power, which is standard for a huge chunk of the AV ecosystem.
And what about the actual power capacity?
It's surprisingly robust. You get 1 amp maximum per output with a total unit capacity of 10 amps.
That seems like a lot of headroom.
It is. Most small signal processors pull just a fraction of an amp.
So running this at 10 amps total means it can handle a fully loaded rack shelf without even breaking a sweat.
Exactly. And speaking of rack shelves, the dimensions are great. It's roughly 8.5 inches wide.
So that's, what, half rack width?
Spot on. You can mount 2 of these side by side in a standard 19-inch rack space.
Wow.
So in 1 U of rack space, which is about 1.75 inches tall, you could theoretically power 20 devices.
Try doing that with power strips and wall warts. You'd need like 4 feet of vertical space.
It would be an absolute nightmare.
It really puts the space-saving argument into perspective.
Yeah.
But I want to challenge you on the price for a second. We're pulling data from HDTV Supply, and they have this listed at a discount right now for around $560, down from $700.
Right.
For the uninitiated, paying nearly $600 for a quote-unquote power strip sounds insane.
Well, if you view it as just a power strip, yeah, but you have to view it as insurance.
Insurance.
Think about a professional environment. If a $20 power brick dies, you have to roll a truck, send a technician, diagnose the failure, and then replace it.
Oh, wow. Yeah. That service call alone costs way more than $560.
Precisely. You are paying for the install it and forget it factor.
And there's a detail in the source material that really highlights that build quality. They mention a variation, an MD model.
The medical applications one, yeah.
Does that mean the unit we're looking at is medical grade?
Not necessarily, but it means the underlying platform is derived from technology trusted in operating rooms.
Which implies what? Lower leakage current?
Exactly. Higher isolation, lower leakage. If Kramer is building the standard version on that same engineering lineage, you're getting reliability that consumer gear just doesn't touch.
Plus, it's capable of operating up to 40 degrees Celsius. That's 104 Fahrenheit.
Which is warm, but pretty standard for a server rack.
And it has a simple power LED.
Seems trivial, but when a rack goes dark, knowing instantly that the power supply is alive saves you 20 minutes of troubleshooting.
Speaking of reliability, it's interesting to look at the vendor, HDTV Supply, in this context too.
Yeah, they've been around for 25 years with their WolfTech branding.
Right. You just don't see fly-by-night operations stocking niche infrastructure gear like this.
No, you buy this kind of gear from veterans because they understand the true cost of downtime.
So if we distill this all down, the Kramer VA-102P12 isn't exactly the sexy part of the AV system.
No, it's not your 4K screen or your surround sound.
It's the infrastructure hero.
The concrete foundation keeping the house from falling down. It cleans up the power, clears out the heat, and organizes the chaos.
Which actually brings me to a final thought for you listening. We accept the whole wall wart mess behind our desks and TVs at home as just inevitable.
We really do. We wrestle with surge protectors that never have enough space.
But if professional industries solved this years ago with centralized DC power like this Kramer unit, why is consumer tech still stuck in the dark ages?
That is a great question.
Why don't our routers and modems and smart hubs share a single standardized power source? Maybe it's time we demanded a home edition of this kind of architecture.
I would buy that in a heartbeat.
Something to chew on next time you're untangling a giant ball of wires.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining this deep dive.